online pipe community. It is Ethan, Parsimonious Piper, and I am here with,
Potter Piper.
and we are going to cover the second letter in C.S. Lewis' Screwtape letters. So without any further ado, Father Brian, take it away.
My dear Wormwood, I note with grave displeasure that your patient has become a Christian. Do not indulge the hope that you will escape the usual penalties. Indeed, in your better moments, I trust you would hardly even wish to do so. In the meantime, we must make the best of the situation. There is no need to despair. Hundreds of these adult converts have been reclaimed after a brief sojourn in the enemy's camp and are now with us. All the habits of the patient, both mental and bodily, are still in our favor. One of our great allies at present is the church itself. Do not misunderstand me. I do not mean the church as we see her spread out throughout all time and space and rooted in eternity, terrible as an army with banners. That, I confess, is a spectacle which makes our boldest tempters uneasy. But fortunately, it is quite invisible to these humans. All your patient sees is the half-finished, sham Gothic erection on the new building estate. When he goes inside, he sees the local grocer, with rather an oily expression on his face, bustling up to offer him one shiny little book containing a liturgy which neither of them understands, and one shabby little book containing corrupt texts of a number of religious lyrics, mostly bad, and in very small print. When he gets to his pew and looks round, he sees just that selection of his neighbors whom he has hitherto avoided. You want to lean pretty heavily on those neighbors. Make his mind flit to and fro between an expression like the body of Christ and the actual faces in the next pew. It matters very little, of course, what kind of people that next pew really contains. You may know one of them to be a great warrior on the enemy's side. No matter. Your patient, thanks to our Father below, is a fool. Provided that any of those neighbors sing out of tune, or have boots that squeak, or double chins, or odd clothes, the patient will quite easily believe that their religion must therefore be somehow ridiculous. At his present stage, you see, he has an idea of Christians in his mind, which he supposes to be spiritual, but which, in fact, is largely pictorial. His mind is full of togas and sandals and armor and bare legs, and the mere fact that the other people in church wear modern clothes is a real, though, of course, an unconscious difficulty to him. Never let him come to the surface. Never let him ask what he expected them to look like. Keep everything hazy in his mind now, and you will have all eternity wherein to amuse yourself by producing in him the peculiar kind of clarity which hell affords. Work hard, then, on the disappointment or anticlimax which is certainly coming to the patient during his first few weeks as a churchman. The enemy allows this disappointment to occur on the threshold of every human endeavor. It occurs when the boy, who has been enchanted in the nursery by stories from the Odyssey, buckles down to really learn Greek. It occurs when lovers have got married and begin the real task of learning to live together. In every department of life, it marks the transition from dreaming aspiration to laborious doing. The enemy takes this risk because he has a curious fantasy of making all these disgusting little human vermin into what he calls his free lovers and servants. Sons is the word he uses, with his inveterate love of degrading the whole spiritual world by unnatural liaisons with the two-legged animals. Desiring their freedom, he therefore refuses to carry them by their mere affections and habits to any of the goals which he sets before them. He leaves them to do it on their own. And there lies our opportunity. But also remember, there lies our danger. If once they get through this initial dryness successfully, they become much less dependent on emotion and therefore much harder to tempt. I have been writing hitherto on the assumption that the people in the next pew afford no rational ground for disappointment. Of course, if they do, if the patient knows that the woman with the absurd hat is a fanatical bridge player, or the man with squeaky boots is a miser, an extortioner, then your task is so much the easier. All you then have to do is to keep out of his mind the question, If I, being what I am, can consider that I am in some sense a Christian, why should the different vices of those people in the next pew prove that their religion is mere hypocrisy and convention? You may ask whether it is possible to keep such an obvious thought from occurring even to a human mind. It is, Wormwood, it is. Handle him properly, and it simply won't come to his head. He has not been anything like long enough with the enemy to have any real humility yet. What he says, even on his knees, about his own sinfulness is all parrot talk. At bottom, he still believes he has run up a very favorable credit balance in the enemy's ledger by allowing himself to be converted, and thinks that he is showing great humility and condescension in going to church with these smug, commonplace neighbors at all. Keep him in that state of mind as long as you can. Your affectionate Uncle Screwtape.
Another fantastic one. I like how Lewis opens right off the bat with let's use the church against them, and he points out that he is not talking about the universal church in the timeless sense of the entire body of Christ, worldwide and throughout time, but that local church with its quirks and its flaws and its flawed humans in it, and how easily we get distracted by that. An example right now that's going on in America, and I can't speak for the experience of churches around the world, is what many of us term the church music or worship music wars. And for those unfamiliar with it, for the last couple of decades, churches have been arguing um, within themselves and between them about are we going to sing the traditional hymns, or are we going to sing new contemporary music? Are we going to use the piano and organ and an orchestra, or drums and guitars, and etc.? And this is such a distraction. It's a distraction to the people inside the church, and it's most definitely a distraction um, for people who are new to the church or looking into the church from outside. A distraction from what, you may ask? Well, from what we should be focused on, which is the message of Christ's life, death, and resurrection, and why those things are important, why those are the good news. Every time we as a church bicker about something that really is superficial, we distract people away from that message that we should be focused on.
Ethan, definitely. And I'm the type of person, and this is what I think Lewis is saying, especially Screwtape does not want, is if somebody says to me, the church, this, and this, some sort of complaint about a lot of these non essential things, I just hit right to it, and I might just say, "You're right. You're right. You're right. Whatever you might be saying, but let's get to what we're about. Let's get to the heart of the matter."
Hmm.
And I actually just you brought up something that came to mind. I gave a homily or a sermon, and recently, and I was trying to bring home to everybody that, you know, before Christ, we're all equal as sinners. And I use the word, we're a wretched sinner. Well, after Mass, after I had one of the parishioners tried to bring me to task and really was not happy that I used that word. And the comment was, well, I'm not wretched. I'm not like, and she was going to say those people and stopped. And I said, and I just said, be careful. That's how the Pharisees would talk too. I doubt that helped my, my cause with her, um, uh, but yeah, we get caught up and lured by the evil one, by Screwtape, by all the non-essential things, and it's like, let's get to the heart of the matter, then go to the non-essential things.
Right. Well, or we may find that those non-essential things aren't that important anymore. Um, but yeah, that I'm not as bad as, and then pointing the fingers to somebody else. Boy, that's another one of those church distractions. As soon as we do begin our relationship with God through Christ, we begin to look at others and go, "Oh well, oh come on, I wasn't that bad."
Oh, definitely. And to get back to that example, and towards the end of the letter, the where Screwtape says, keep out of his mind this question: if I, being what I am, can consider that people in the next, no, excuse me, consider that I am in some sense a Christian, why should the different vices of those people in the next pew prove their religion is more hypocrisy and convention? And as there, but for the grace of God, go I. And that's what Screwtape wants to tell Wormwood. Don't let him think about that. Don't let him get down to that depth, because once he does, those non-essentials become just that. They become non-essential. And I know for myself, I have to remind myself every day of that. There, but for the grace of God, go that person I don't like, that person who distracts me, or that. And it's only by the grace of God. And Screwtape does not want Wormwood to let his patient go there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us again, folks. I hope you are enjoying this series. I know we certainly are. Read the third one and be ready for next week. With that, light something you like. Enjoy this afternoon.